crazy.
If you're talking about this event as an entertainment product, it has been an 11 on 10.
All right, anyway, this is Geographically Challenged. It's episode 49. It's the last episode that we're going to do here at IEM Sydney. So, a little bit happy, a little bit sad. I don't know, we did 3 episodes. That's pretty good.
I'm sick of you cunts. I want to go back home.
Yeah, fuck off.
So
man.
fuck off.
We don't even want you in this country. Get out of
But
here.
jokes aside, Sydney's great.
Yeah.
I've had a fucking great time. I won't lie. Usually, like at the end of like a big event, you kind of have this like the blue settling in after the event's done.
Yeah.
I'm kind of getting it this morning. I'm like, fuck, it's almost over now.
I actually started getting that on Friday after we'd done our game already, Pilly. I was thinking, man. Because, like, I knew I'm doing the show match today. Like, we're obviously recording this before the day starts on Sunday for anyone that's watching. And I knew that I was doing the show match. I still obviously know that. But, you know, after doing that quarterfinal, it was kind of like, all right, well, my main involvement in this event now is over. The show match is one thing, but obviously being able to do the...
It's a fucking Cassius. Put some respect on that.
No, I know.
I mean, Hank's not there. Henry's not there, sadly. But still, it's a Cassius.
Yeah,
Man. Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, you can say that what happens. Because by the time this goes out, people will know.
It'll be uploaded after.
It'll be out on Monday night. So.
I was trying here, man.
Yeah. You see, the thing is, like, I think almost you have to kind of keep in your head that he's actually not playing in the caches because then you won't let it slip. Do you know what I mean? Like, you just don't. Like, it's like one of those things where, like, if you don't say swear words in your everyday life, there's a pretty good chance you're not going to say it in an important business situation or, you know, that kind of thing. Whereas if you are someone that just drops the fucking C-bomb every now and then, sometimes it comes out on the broadcast.
I've actually never said the C-bomb once,
really,
ever on a broadcast.
Do you want to have a go now?
I say it here all the time.
This is kind of a broadcast.
Pussy.
Penis. Cunt.
Play the penis game, man. We are so fucking mature,
Penis.
Man. What a great start to this episode. Well, I guess let's just talk about IEM Sydney quickly for a little bit. Obviously, you liked being here in Sydney, Bleh, but how did you find the event? How did you find the crowd? And everything?
I just have to say, I've been at the biggest CS crowd ever, which is Antwerp, which had 22,000 people. There's no standing room. It's fucking insane, right?
Insane.
And I've had the loudest crowd ever, which is Rio when Navi and Furia played, which it's a core memory. It's ingrained in me. It was incredibly loud, like super whatever. This has been the most entertaining crowd I've ever had the pleasure of watching. And obviously I watched Sydney in 18, 19, 2017 as well online. And even then you can feel the energy coming out, the fun, the fun everyone's having, the entertainment and all of that. But being here in person is just, I didn't expect it to be better, but it's even better, right? And I think, Sydney deserves a major, honestly. I don't know when, but it deserves a major. And even if this was like a 10,000, 15,000, size arena, I know there's like 8K, which is still substantial, it would fill out. And that's I feel like that's a guarantee.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, Pilly, but I kind of feel like this IEM Sydney has been the best turnout. Would you agree?
I think so. Yeah, I think it also helps that the theatre seems to carry sound a lot better than Kudos did. So it feels fuller. It feels like you can hear everyone chanting. But yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how much bigger than 8K we could get. I know we could probably get more because it's sold out so quickly. But obviously, it's something that everyone will say is that the population size is going to be a limiting factor compared to taking it somewhere else.
Yeah, but I mean, with that said, I think let's just entertain the possibility that there ever would be a major here. If it were a major,
100%.
I think you could easily double that number, and you'd have people flying from China, especially because
that's true.
Even for IEM Sydney, we've got guys from fucking China that have flown here that are fucking camping outside of the hotel trying to meet the players. So if it were a major, I think you could definitely make it happen.
that's also a good sign for the Shanghai major.
For sure.
Right? Like, look at
good or bad, depending on who you ask.
Depending, yeah. But dude, like, so many Chinese fans, and it's good to see, right? And they're not even Aussie. Of course, you have the Aussie Chinese fans as well, but also people.
Yeah, they're Chinese fans. Like, that's the crazy thing.
That's crazy. Flying in all the way to it's pretty far, man. Might be the same time zone. It's pretty fucking far, right? So. Yeah, dude. I think if you had like a 15,000 crowd arena for a major especially, I think it would 100% fill up.
Yeah. I mean, there's going to be pros and cons to every location, but I think that we've shown that what we can do that's positive is worth having events here. It's just a question of whether that's going to fit, whoever wants to put on the event and what they're looking for.
Logistically speaking, you know, whether it's worth the cost. Because let's be real, like at the end of the day, it does definitely cost a lot more to run an event in Australia than it would almost anywhere else in the world. Not only because we're a very costly country economically.
Yeah.
But also because we're so far away from the major hubs of where all these tournament operators are from, meaning they have to fly staff, they have to fly equipment, etc., players.
I just
way
think
further.
that I mean, we've seen other TOs have logistical issues, spreading themselves a little bit too thin, doing majors and stuff. I just think that I don't think that a different company other than ESL can really do it.
Yep.
Here,
Yep.
I don't think that they can because we just have so many ESL staff here.
I was, funnily enough, I was actually having a conversation with one of the media yesterday, and he was sort of asking me, do I hope to see more events like this in Australia, or do I expect to see other TOs coming into Australia? And I sort of was saying, well, I don't know whether or not there is an appetite necessarily for more than the two that we've already got, which would be ESL Challenger Melbourne plus IEM Sydney.
Another TO cannot do events of that scale to the same quality. They can do other smaller events probably, but I don't believe that they could pull off an event of that scale.
Well, I think when you look at it and you look at how these tournament operators actually make those events happen, is normally they would partner with a local company, right? And I was sort of theorizing, like, who could you actually partner with in ANZ? Like, let's say Blast decided they want to put on an event in Australia. They want to run a Blast brand. But does Fortress have the capability to assist to the same degree that ESL
not to do an
Australia
event
does?
of that scale,
Absolutely not.
in my opinion.
No, I don't think so either.
But they have already put on the qualifier for Showdown, and that was pretty decent. Like, that was a good event. It had some issues.
Teething issues for sure.
Teething issues, 100%. But, it was an event that ran. They did have a stage. They did have a small little crowd. But an arena... has Fortress even done something in an arena before?
It's also the marketing...
in the Alienware arena, mate.
It's also the marketing push as well, right? Like, you can't discount that. Like, the fact that... I mean, sure, people will show up, but ESL, they do a very good job ever since the first Sydney of pushing it, right?
Yeah.
And it has a legacy name as well.
Sure.
That's what I was thinking. If you even just call it something else, like even just calling DreamHack, people...
It's not as interesting.
Or ESL Challenger, I don't think it has the same pull as IEM.
No. It's actually interesting because I was reading an article as well. I can't remember where I saw the article. I would name drop the author, but I can't remember, sorry. And they were saying that there are like 3 events in the calendar which have a character or something like that, or a personality. Obviously, you got Cologne Katowice, because it's Cologne and Katowice, and then Sydney, right? And I think when you look at events...
And maybe Copenhagen, you can throw it in.
Potentially. And they also were saying, okay, maybe ESL Pro League in Malta now with this whole like more relaxed nature is starting to develop its own personality as well. But I think the really unique thing about IEM Sydney is that it does have this like personality almost as an event that a lot of other events don't have, when you just go, oh, it's IEM something. I don't care beyond the fact that it's an IEM.
I mean, I think Bleh kind of hit it on the head when we were talking about it the other day, where it's got like a bit of best of both worlds. It's got the prestige along with the vibes of like a fucking around on Beyond the Summit or something, because it has both the entertainment factor and the prestigious competition that we all kind of crave.
Yep. So, I mean, obviously, I think we're all really happy with how IEM Sydney has gone. But what do you guys think about the future of IEM Sydney? Because I've constantly for like the last 6 to 12 months been hearing doom and gloom about AUCS and ANZ Esports and stuff like that. But do you think that, because the way I see it happening is a lot of the time, we have this fucking sick event, and everyone for the couple of months after go, oh, that was fucking amazing. Like, that was one of the best crowds ever. That was awesome. IEM Sydney or DreamHack. Even the same thing happened with ESL Challenger Melbourne. If you remember, everyone was like, man, these guys are sick. And then they forget about it.
And I was even looking at, I've never been shared into something like this before, but they actually shared the like end of event, like some summary kind of like PowerPoint slides and like deck for how the event went. And it seemed very positive.
Yep.
We usually don't get to look at stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I think it went very well, but, and like, I think there are a lot of positives as always. And I feel like I don't know, maybe, I hope it's not like motherhood statements of people putting on the event being like, wow, we did so well, because there have definitely been events that we've all worked where people have said, that was really good. And we've gone home and we've been like, that was fucking shit. But I don't think this is a case of that in my opinion. I think that this event so far, I mean, we haven't even got to the last day. It feels like it's gone very well. I think it's And I don't think that's all predicated and piggybacked off the fact that this is the first CS2 event. I think that even if it was Go, it would have done
100%
done well.
I mean, the fact that it's been 4 years since the last IEM Sydney has a lot of people obviously very keen for this event. But what I will say is I think that, you know, if this were to say be the last ever IEM Sydney, which I really hope that it fucking isn't, I don't think you can say it's because the event wasn't a success or because the crowd didn't turn up. Like, I feel like everything has gone the way it needed to at this event for us to get another one.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't happen, and you know, fingers crossed that that's not going to be the case, right? I think it just ticked all the check boxes you need for a next event to happen. Like, if it was, honestly, like if it was any other place, maybe in Europe, right, or America, where most of these events happen, 100%, you know, the TO would be looking to make it happen there. Even if it doesn't happen next year for whatever reasons, it's also because, you know, you got to look at other circumstances, right? One thing being, you know, the esports winter, which kind of set in early this year as well. Things are bouncing back. CS2 is out as well, so, you know, there's a little bit more, a little bit more of a push, upwards push for a lot of other TOs to be more active as well. But I'd be absolutely shocked if Sydney doesn't come back in the near future.
I personally wouldn't be. Because I'm looking at the calendar next year, and I'm looking at the events that are there, and I'm thinking, okay, it's always Kato and Cologne, and then there's China, and a fourth one, and I'm just looking at the fact that Americas doesn't have an event, and look, I
mean, Dallas seems to be like a mainstay now, kind of.
Yeah, Dallas, or even like going to South America again, I wouldn't be surprised. Despite the issues that's been there, they're still trying to push. I feel like it would be silly not to push in that direction because the community is so huge. But and like selfishly, obviously, I would want an IEM. But if there's only a limited number of IEMs at the end of the day, I wouldn't be surprised if there wasn't a Sydney because they feel like, okay, we're doing one in APAC in China already.
Yes.
They got their event. It's a small community. It's a small portion of the community compared to, you know, the other portions of the community, and you know. Obviously, NA is or not just NA, sorry, just Americas in general is a big segment that they want to be. Anyone would want to be pushing for, you know.
Yeah, I mean that's my concern as well. Is that having looked at that calendar that they've released for next year, you've got I think it's got 3 events like locked in, which is Kato, Cologne, and China,
then one question mark,
and then IEM Fall, which is actually this event that we're doing now. So IEM Fall 2024, as of yet, hasn't necessarily been announced. But like you said, Pilski, I would be somewhat surprised if we would have 2 events within the APAC region from ESL, IEM related, so China and Sydney, in the same year. I think you could almost alternate, like you could do 1 year China, 1 year Sydney, and that might be a nice, like, sort of...
I wouldn't be surprised to see
middle
that.
ground.
Yeah, I genuinely believe there'll be, you know, a challenger level event or a DreamHack or something. I really wouldn't be surprised to see something like that, or even like an RMR or something, but without obviously ESL hosting that has its own issues.
There's no RMR here if there's no ESL.
And also got to look at like the ESL side of things as well, right? CS2 launching is a new game, right? It's a new, no matter how you look at it, a big upgrade to CS:GO or whatever. It's still a new game, and obviously for ESL, it is a good thing for them to try and have at least one in the initial launch year, so to speak, of CS2 to have an event at all these different places. So Sydney. Great, fucking worked out, right? Now they're going to be trying it out in China. They're going to be trying it out again in Rio as well, right?
Yeah.
NA as well, Dallas, and see, like, try to push in some of the... Sydney's always going to be there. But Sydney's always going to, you know, deliver when it comes to the crowd and everything else. But for the other regions where we have historically struggled in CSGO, having an early push in China, in Brazil as well, I think it's a good thing. Because if those regions really pop off, and I'm really hoping it does pop off, especially in China, that's good for everyone.
Yep, for sure. I mean, I think one of the best, most positive signs that we've had from this IEM Sydney is the fact that it disappeared for 4 years and it came back and it was like the same, if not better. You know, it's not as if...
It was better. I think we all agree it was better,
I agree that... I would say it's better.
I wouldn't know.
Blair wasn't here,
but like... But you at least have seen... You at least would have watched some of the games and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, I watch every single game.
But you don't get the sense for
you know what the crazy thing is? The games have actually been... probably the worst games.
The games have been horrible. The quality of the games have been.
Well, I mean, it is kind of expected, right?
Yeah,
CS2 coming out,
but I see that almost as a positive because, like, even though the games have been kind of average in comparison to previous,
it's still entertaining.
It's been a fucking crazy.
If you're talking about this event as an entertainment product, it has been an 11 on 10.
Yep.
you know, there would and look, I won't name names, but there are definitely other crowds in the world where if you got these kind of games, no one would be making a sound in the arena, even if there was a crowd double the size.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like I could give a couple of examples, right? Even if I go to Antwerp, which I touched upon in the finals, which was a banger finals, FaZe Na'Vi in the grand finals, right? FaZe winning the first major and all of that. When you look at the quarters and the semis, quarters, okay, fine. Friday, for example, right? Antwerp is a city kind of similar to Sydney, where a lot of like countries nearby, a lot of people can travel very easily in. And yes, there was a decent crowd, obviously, but you can see some of the games were pretty flat. I think the Spirit Ends game comes to mind, which is kind of boring, honestly. And the crowd were trying, but everyone kind of knew, like, yeah, just wait for the finals. Let's wait for the semis, right? Here you go back to Friday, dude. Like, even a couple of those curb stomp games we had, everyone's just having a good time.
Dude, people are fucking around in a tech pause. We had like a 15-minute tech pause.
Doesn't feel like a tech pause.
And it was fun. Like, I watched it back on the VOD and I was like, it was almost more fun watching the tech pause than the actual game, ironically enough.
Yeah. And we weren't even, I don't even think that we did like the best job we've ever done at working the crowd or anything. Like, we did a decent job at working the crowd, but they just do it themselves.
I mean, to be fair, it's a little bit harder for anyone that's like not aware of where the caster desk was.
That's what I said too.
The casting desk was behind the curtain on the right of the stage, which I think you can probably even see if you're looking at it on stream, you know, the big shots over the stage. So we physically could not see the stage. And also because it's quite a heavy duty curtain, plus you have the headset on, sometimes it's kind of hard to hear the crowd. I could only hear the crowd when it was coming through the crowd mic.
Yeah, some of that, but also, and you can't really gauge what the reaction is or what the energy is. Like, perfect example, I heard that people were chanting, you know, like, fuck you, Jordan, or like...
Oh, I heard that.
Pilly sexy or something like that.
I didn't hear that.
I didn't hear that. Like, I couldn't hear some of the chants. And the thing is, when we were at DreamHack, much more crowd,
hear that shit,
we could see them, we could hear them.
Yeah, they would be fucking pointing at us saying, fuck you, Jordan.
We could literally interact directly with them, and it contributed to the cast. It really did. Because we were able to work the crowd a lot more effectively. In this case, not only could I not see the crowd, I couldn't sometimes hear the crowd, and sometimes it felt like what was on the program feed wasn't necessarily synced up with what was happening. Like the jib, you know, sometimes they're getting used to things before they kind of do more games and stuff, and the jib wasn't always catching all of the antics, which means that I'm missing out on context. To help continue to work the crowd, and I can't do my 100% job at that. Yeah. And also, you don't really feel the same level of atmosphere when you don't see them. And I mean, right from the get-go, when I found out we were behind the curtain, said, I think this is, I prefer it to not be like this.
Obviously.
But there are obviously reasons why that happened.
Do you feel that's... Again, I don't know like about this arena, but do you think because it's a theater and how the acoustics work?
So. Yeah.
I think that's.
I think it's definitely something to do with sound, and also something to do with just trying to make the event look neat and tidy, and not having you know, all tech like sprawling out all over the place.
The reasons that I heard were because of the audio and whether there would be an audio bleed coming through the speakers into our microphone,
which even with a much smaller crowd. And had issues at DreamHack sometimes. We did have bleed. We did have that like coming through every now and again. So
and then obviously, like you said, the fact that they didn't want to have they wanted to have the drape across to make it look nice. But
also, like, do you have to say, sitting in the crowd, what we're listening to all of you guys commentate, the sound did sound amazing.
Oh, it sounded
you guys
great.
Sound so clear,
the
right?
sound quality in the
theater's fucking
It's
awesome.
actually unreal. Considering how loud it is.
It's better than any other arena I've been in.
It actually might be, honestly. Like, consider how loud a crowd is as well. At no point did I have to struggle to hear anything. And it's not overbearingly loud either.
No, that's true.
Perfect audio.
We have some really good theaters, and like we do have like stadiums and halls and stuff where there's like I've been to plenty of concerts and that kind of stuff. And like, you know, we do have some good, like some stadiums where the sound isn't as good, but like things like, I mean, I'd never been in the Super Aware Theatre before, but if anyone's been in the Opera House and shit like that, like the sound design of some of the fucking places we have in Australia is like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like I literally, I remember going for my birthday, like many, many years ago, going to see, probably most people won't know who this is, but James Vincent McMorrow, he's like an Irish singer. And legit, the acoustics in the Opera House, you could hear his like voice. He's got this very high set voice, like reverberating around the entire Opera House, bro. I was crying.
You know what? It's funny.
I feel like it was touching my soul, bro.
It's funny that you bring up the Opera House because I remember. I hope I won't get in trouble for this, but whatever.
Wait, next IEM Sydney in the Opera House?
Yeah,
huh?
Look.
What do you think?
This was the thing. This was
the theater. The theater popped off. Opera House time.
The very first IEM Sydney, I and it might have even been before the first IEM Sydney. I don't even remember if it was for IEM Sydney or for something else. But when I worked at ESL, which was now, this would have happened like 5 or 6 years ago, which is why I feel sort of okay about saying it. But there was I remember someone asking me to put together like a PowerPoint on the IEM Sydney, like what are they called? The stages, I guess, or auditoriums. I want to call them arenas, but they're not really arenas. Like we just use the word arena for fucking esports events. And like how many people can go in this arena and how many can stand and how big is the stage and stuff like that. So I was like, it was a consideration is basically what I'm saying. So, hey, if there is a major,
go to the Opera House?
To go to the Opera House.
You did a little briefing on the Opera House?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know how far that
That
got.
would be fucking iconic.
And also, I was like piss low in the company. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't having anything to do with the conversations around any of it. It was just like, hey, can you make this and tell us how many seats and stuff are in this theater? But it's not as if it's something that hasn't been at least thought about. Is my point. So yeah, again, like we said, if there was ever a major in ANZ, I mean, fucking yeah, do it at the Opera House, and that would pop the fuck off. Though,
bro, a major.
What
in the
I would
Opera
say,
House.
what I would say is, I'm not sure that the crowd is exactly conducive to the kind of experience that the Opera House would want to have.
It's a very fine, classy
It is.
venue.
I think they'd
I've
be
been there a couple
they'd be happy when the money comes in. You know?
I don't know about the cleaning bill though. Anyway, look. Whatever. Now, we've talked about a lot of the positives of IEM Sydney. I mean, we mentioned the one negative, which was the casting setup wasn't in the greatest of spots, but obviously you can get past that. It's not a big deal. The only other thing that I wanted to highlight that I thought was a big negative personally was the fact that the analysts were not going to the arena. And I know that happens around the world now as well. That's happening everywhere. But I personally think that is a massive negative for the event.
I feel the same as well. I know it's kind of standardized right now, right? Like you have like you've kind of separated it into the in-arena experience, so to speak, where you have like maybe the stage host or whoever having these little mini games and like kiss cams and all that fun stuff, and also with the desk primarily going out to the stream. But as an analyst being on the desk, right? Like there are a few times where we are in the arena,
Yes,
and just the feel of like having the crowd react to what you're saying, and because we have such a receptive crowd, like saying something like, yeah, JKS, I don't think he's going to make it, everyone's a fucking boo, and it's fucking great, that's great TV, that's great. And also, listen man, it's sort of like, I'm not even going to include myself, but looking at some of the people we have on the desk, people like Freya, like Stunner, like fucking Kassad, Yanko, all these guys, right? If you're talking about in-arena experience, and if we are going out into the arena, we can entertain them. It doesn't always have to be Counter-Strike talk. Like, we are tenured enough to know, hey, let's talk a bit about a game. Let's set up the game a little bit. Also, let's have a little bit of fun. Let's get a chant going, like Henry's a fucking wanker or something.
The desk needs a balance of entertainment and analysis for sure.
Which you could do if we were out there.
You can't do
The
entertainment.
entertainment factor is fucking, when you got a crowd like in Sydney, is fucking easy peasy. You don't even have to do shit. You just have to say something dumb and sound confident about it, and they're like, yeah.
Who's the most handsome? Me, it's me. And then you do it again, you go, wait, I didn't hear that. And they go, me.
It is, I feel like, like how you have an esports production over the years, you have the production meta, so to speak, right? I'm just hoping, given a little bit of time, maybe, hopefully, we get back to the analysts being in the arena. I'm already happy not being in a fucking green screen in a studio
for sure.
1,000 kilometers away, so I'm already happy about this.
Yeah,
but,
it's one of those things where it's like, can you really complain? Because if not, there is definitely somewhere worse to go, which is just analysts are not even at the event, casters are in a fucking studio
but
behind
the thing is,
arena.
you've taken all the effort to fly us out, put up a nice, stage and everything, set us up. Let's just go the extra 5% more.
Beautiful hotel as well.
The hotel is fucking sick.
Yeah. So I'll give credit to ESL. I mean, they've done a really good job with this event. I think personally, it's been a massive success. Obviously, working it as well has been amazing. We've been treated really well. We have a great hotel. We had PC setups. Obviously, that's pretty standard now at IEMs.
This is literally
it's been fucking awesome.
This might be my favorite IEM I've ever had an opportunity to work, aside from Cologne. Like, apart from Cologne, because Cologne's Cologne, right? It has an extra little bit of like gravitas, so to speak, to the event. Apart from that, this has been my favorite IEM event.
There you go.
Yeah, to watch and to work at.
Yeah. All right. Well, enough IEM Sydney talk. We've been going on about it for about 25 minutes. Let's talk quickly about CS2 and what we've been feeling about that, and then we can start to sort of talk about the more standard Asia topics, which we would normally cover on our episodes, which I know a few people have been missing. There was a few people
We
asking.
can squeeze it in.
Yeah,
But,
we'll
okay,
squeeze it in there.
CS2.
Talk about CS2.
CS2. All right,
Yeah.
here's the thing. What have we seen so far, right? Now, obviously, a lot of negatives, right? I'm not going to get too much into that. I want to point out one thing, though. We've seen the teams who have embraced the game, who are like, you know what? New chance, new opportunity, mom spaghetti, reset time. Let's make it work. They are winning. They're winning good. They're outfragging a lot of their opposition. The guys who are like, yeah, I'm not a fan of the new game, this and that, and they're kind of middling about it, they're just getting shat on. Best example, FaZe Complexity, who are going to be playing in the finals. And we're going to know who the winners are, obviously, by the time this one comes out. Look at FaZe. You know what I love watching? It's not just about the run and gun and, Rain's aiming better than the other guy on the other team. It's not just that. They are trying to define the early meta of Counter-Strike in a lot of these maps. You look at Anubis and Complexity, they're doing some lot of cool shit. Look at fucking Nuke. And the variations that FaZe are throwing in. And yesterday as well, like, we saw the semifinals where they're like, we're going to ban Mirage. Mirage's kind of shit right now. Bringing out Vertigo, going for a couple of cool execs on a B bomb site, for example, which I haven't seen in CSGO. We saw from FaZe on a B bomb site. So the fact that we're seeing cool new shit coming out from a few of these teams is great.
I mean, I think the whole new nading the smoke mechanic has been a massive success. Personally, I feel like it's
great.
It's added a lot of depth and layers to the way that teams take control of the map. And I mean, we're only really, I think, seeing the early stages of that as well. I can imagine, and I'm sure that as we get 6 months, 12 months into Counter-Strike 2's lifetime, that is going to be massively improved upon in terms of execution by the players. Like, they're going to have a better understanding of timing, or how to throw the nades, or when to throw the nades, where to throw the nades, and we're going to see a lot more put into that. So I think that's a big positive for me. Now, what about from the perspective of MR12? Like, for me personally, it has felt like some of these games have gone really fast. And I don't know if that's just because, like, obviously we're all excited to be here. We're doing an arena show and that kind of thing. And it always feels fast, to be fair, when you're casting an arena show. But the game that we did, Pilly, which was the Complexity Bet Boom game, I was like, fuck, it's already over. And one of those maps was the 13-11,
Yeah. MR12, I have big issues with it because it feels like it's easier for upsets to happen sometimes, but also it feels like sometimes a team can't really get a proper chance to play the game in the way that you would get in MR15, to have that ability to have multiple chances at adaptation and at a full buy. Perfect example. I was actually thinking of it, and then Maui literally tweeted out of my brain right after the game, which was I think it was the Mao's game against BetBoom that we casted, where Mao's didn't even have a chance to adapt really in regulation on the T side because they got 9-3'd. And then when they actually went into overtime, you could tell that they worked out how to defend the Palace Pops and stuff like that. So that's a blatant example of like a team not having enough time, particularly on CT side economy. T side economy can be a bit more forgiving. You can hide a lot of the weaknesses in terms of weaponry and utility by designing a strat that doesn't need as much of that utility in the early to mid round sometimes. CT side, there are things that you just can't defend when you don't have enough util, and there are things that you just can't defend when you don't have the right weapons.
Here's a controversial take, a hot take, so to speak. I don't think anyone said this yet. How about, this might sound wild, splitting the CT and the T economy when it comes to the loss bonus.
So 1900 for CTs.
Yeah,
14 for
because I
Ts.
feel like 1900 for Ts might be a little too OP now, the way the game is.
I don't think that's a bad idea, necessarily.
But at the same time, the problem is, as the game develops, when I say the meta evolves, that could become a problem as well, right? So I still want to give it a little bit more time, but I feel like the base bonus, the loss bonus, should be 1900 across both teams for now, at least for now.
I want to see them fix some of the peak disadvantage and things like that before I think about that as much, because those are my big gripes. The economy is definitely a problem, but you can't underestimate how much the interaction of peak disadvantage and like that. It's actually, like, I know people are talking about it a lot and it's the buzzword at the moment, but I don't think some people really understand how it functions and just how OP it is. And I was sitting with Sniper, talking about it in some of those games, and it's actually crazy. I was even highlighting in our cast in the group stage. I don't know if you remember, where we were watching Mouse play Vertex, I think it was, in like literally the first game. and someone's coming around jungle side on T side. I think it was Frozen or Shui. Might have been Shui.
Yep.
Coming around, wrapping Moto on jungle side, and then shooting someone in mini pit. And the T on his screen, he swings around the corner, and he's like looking for someone, and then he sees the player in mini pit, and it's like a whole 2 seconds, and then he adjusts on the head and one taps him. And then you see it from the... But we saw it initially. That was in the replay. We saw it from the Vertec player's POV.
He just got...
From the CT POV, it looks like he literally just went... Like, instant one-tapped him.
Yeah.
And that's
like,
on land, by the way.
Yeah, and that's on land. And it's like... This is... Yeah, this is very tilting to play against because it feels impossible to react as a CT in some of these positions. And then as a T... Like, it doesn't even look like an impressive shot. He's like, oh, just kind of
swing and kill.
Yeah, shoot him on the head.
It is. We even saw the twists shot yesterday on Vertigo, on towards the B stairs on Vertigo. Just literally, he didn't even stop to shoot. It's just like running and gunning.
On the screen of the opponent, yeah.
Insta fucking double ding death. Look, what's worrying for me is you got to remember that Sydney is being played on the tournament beta patch before the new updates that Valve brought up with the Alias Minds and everything, right? So now we don't really know which direction this one's going to go. I think we're at a very important juncture right now for CS2 as an esports, at least for the foreseeable future. And if Valve are going to be like, no, you got to have to play with the sub-tick movement and all of that, it's going to be a whole different game altogether. You're going to see all the miss smokes, weird util. It's going to be messy, and I don't know about that.
The util missing has been a big problem, obviously, and I don't think people understand why that's happening.
These are with the Alias Binds, mind you.
I know, but even with the Alias Binds, people are
missing.
And this is the thing, like, people are telling me, no, bro, the Alias Binds means that you will hit it consistently. You will hit the smoke. Bro, watch the games. Watch the games. These are the best players in the world. They know how to throw fucking util. They should not be missing this much util. And this is talking about jump throw smokes. Like, jump throw smokes, fine. But, like, running utility is a fucking massive problem. Running and throwing a Molotov, short A overpass into deep fountain, like, every second round. That missed more than it hit. Like, they legit cannot hit this shit consistently. And that's a massive problem. Personally, from my perspective... again, dropping the fucking buzzword of Valorant in there, I prefer a game where I don't have to fucking give the game's code a reach around to fucking have the right shit. I would prefer to have no fucking config in CSGO. I prefer to have no auto exec in CSGO. Everyone should be on an even playing field, should have the same settings that are in the fucking menu, and the game should function better without you having to do that. And that's up to Valve to fix that and set that up. I
100% agree with you on that, because one thing which I really did like when CS2 came out was the fact that for the jump throw, right, the Valve put it in the game itself. And honestly, the jump throw, as long as there's no like walking or against a wall, anything, for me personally, it's been super consistent. I think it's very, very consistent. You don't necessarily need an alias for that. But the fact that Valve put it in the game is fucking great. But what I think everyone's complaining about the fact right now is that, you know, at the cost of trying to make everything the same, doesn't mean we have to play on an RNG game, which is what it's looking like right now. And that, I think everyone agrees, shouldn't be happening.
Yeah, I agree. And I even have issues with Valorant for that exact reason, because there is a fair degree of like first bullet inaccuracy and all that kind of stuff that can sometimes completely define a round. And I think people don't think about it anymore in Valorant. They just kind of live with it. They go, yeah, this is how the game functions. And
we got to burst fire everything, can't spray for shit.
Well, yeah, for sure. They're obviously the RNG spray is one thing, but even like tapping first bullet accuracy on some guns is not completely accurate. So I can peek Jordan can peek me at the exact same time. We shoot at the same time. One of us will have a bullet that if we're talking like mid to long range. One of us, a bullet will RNG past his head. Jordan will hit me in the head, and that's complete RNG. And that could be like the round defining pick.
I mean, they do have the new agent as well, where you can have a 1v1 deal. That should be wild, right?
1v1 mode,
whatever that fucking thing is.
Anyway,
look, similar to even Valve making changes. I feel like almost every agent that comes out, there's people in the community who say, "What the fuck is this? This is really silly." But then, as people play with it more and more, sometimes it is stupid. And it's like power creep, and then it gets fixed later, and you have to play with broken shit for a while. But sometimes it actually ends up being interesting, and it actually ends up making things better long term.
It's the same thing with League of Legends. People look at a fucking tooltip that goes like a fucking essay, and they go, "This is fucking cooked." and then
Yeah.
they play it, and it's like, yeah, okay.
Okay, I understand.
All right, CS2 done.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I have really much
I
much
think
more to say.
everyone's like, I think everyone's aware of like, again, we're in this weird flux state right now, right? Like after Sydney, obviously Valve's gonna be like, all right, the next tournament is gonna happen. I think we have a lot of online cups. We have CSC coming up as well.
Yeah.
That's gonna probably be played on the new patch because
Yes,
Valve, right?
Would have to be, right?
And that's Perfect World as well, mind you. Perfect World is literally a partner with Valve as well, so they might just play on that patch, which changes a lot of things. So the teams you saw doing good here in this event, they might shit the bed come CSC. So I don't know, man.
Well, we haven't even seen the teams that would be expected to win really winning. Obviously the changes, as everyone expected, has led to a lot of parity in results. And you're seeing teams that were not previously successful be successful.
Yep. I mean, that was, I think, something to be expected. But I guess if you would have said complexity phase in the final of IEM Sydney, I'd have told you you're fucking cooked. I'd have said, what the fuck do you want?
I mean, I think the one thing we can all have a takeaway here, looking at all the winners' interviews and the loser interviews, where the losers' interviews were like, we got outplayed, they prepped more, simple as that.
I'll be honest, I didn't see any of the loser interviews. Because we didn't get them on the
okay, but that's
arena feed,
that's
you know what I
pretty
mean?
much the
you got them on the
vibe.
analyst desk, but we didn't see it in the arena.
No, we didn't get an analyst. I was reading it. I was
right.
reading some of them, and
Okay.
then the winners' interview, everyone was like, "Yeah, adapt or die." We
Yeah.
adapted. That's
Yeah.
what Elish said. That's what
Fucking
Carrigan
right.
said. That's what Rain
Mate,
said. That's what everyone said.
That is being a professional, as far as I'm concerned. If you're just gonna fucking sit there and QQ about the fact that the game is changing, then good riddance. Fuck off. Not fuck off. Obviously, like, we want the game to be as good as it can be, but at the end of the day, you are paid to do a job, and the job is to play Counter-Strike in the current iteration of the game. Fucking play the game.
You can bitch about it, but play the fucking game.
Play the fucking game, do your best, and hopefully it works out. But look, I know there's been conversations around, where the direction of the game is going and stuff like that. Maybe we can talk about that in a little bit. But I want to talk about Asia CS, because like we obviously have missed a fair bit. It's been like 3 or 4 weeks actually since we did our last Asia CS episode, and we've done a couple, and people have been asking us to sort of talk about the usual topics. So we'll just quickly go through a few of the big ones. I don't think there's a huge amount really to touch on, actually, that's been not covered already. The first thing that I have written down here is that Tyloo did end up signing ex-Cyclone, which we actually spoke about in the previous episode. We were talking about the rumor, just to confirm that did happen. I will say I think it's good that Tyloo is still involved in Counter-Strike, because that is a legacy brand. And I hope that for Tyloo and for Chinese Counter-Strike, this can be like something that's really good, because let's be real, like Chinese CS has been kind of shit lately. Like, it's certainly been overtaken by the Mongols on an international stage. Rare Atom and Lin Vision, ex-Rare Atom / Lin Vision, were doing okay, but it sort of felt like a lot of the highlight was on Mongolia and the Mongols for probably the better part of 12 months now, after they won the last 2 Asia RMRs, or second in the last one, and they won the one before that, and they also won the one before that. So maybe it's been like about 18 months. But I feel like this is like, okay, you've got now the unison between debatably the best Chinese org. I don't know if they're the best Chinese org just in terms of, are they really good as an org? I have no idea. But just in terms of the brand name, everyone knows Tyloo is a Chinese Counter-Strike team. Everyone loves Tyloo. They've got a sick fucking logo. People love their stickers, stuff like that. Plus, you've got now actually a really good team instead of one of these half-assed fucking bullshit teams that isn't going to do anything.
I'm more excited about the rumors circulating around that team.
Which is...
Oh, really?
Advent to coach.
Yeah, slowly
coming in.
Yep.
And Freeman IGLing. Now, a lot of people
Hang on.
who might be like, no, not Freeman, what am I saying? Jam Young.
Yeah,
So,
fucking hell.
I'm like, Freeman, where did he come from? Look, it's going to have some teething issues right now, because obviously he's not IGL, but he's been playing with Advent since the day he started playing professional Counter-Strike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been like 2 years now.
He would have picked up quite a lot of
Maybe
things.
more.
No, more than
Yeah,
that.
3
Like, it's been
years.
like 3 or 4. He was in Vici along with Kaze
Yes, yeah.
and
We were
Advent.
casting him during COVID.
The thing is, there will be teething issues, but I feel like might have learned a lot from Advent already.
Yeah.
Again, this is assuming it's going to be happening, right? And I am okay with a little bit of early struggles if that means Advent to coach is fucking fantastic. Trust me, the guy, he knows what he's doing, but now there's no more liability of playing a 4v5 in every fucking game, right?
Yeah.
And we know slowly, ironically, in that Tyloo lineup when he was playing with Dan King and the other guys, Attacker and Summer and all these guys, he really impressed me. He's not the most flashiest guy. He's a closer. He's a slower player, more calm, more composed, and not as much of a lunatic as some of the other guys. I think he would be a great fit, and I really hope that's going to happen, because that's a team. That is a team that I can get behind.
Totally agree. I think the current roster of Cyclone, now Tyloo, has run its course. We've seen what they can do. We know what they can do. And I'm just not excited about them going to international tournaments and doing an almost anymore, or looking good for a half and then not being able to close. I want to see at least one change.
Yep. I mean, I think at this point, is it fair to say Lin Vision is the number one Chinese team?
I don't know. I think that's up in the air. I think it's 50-50. Lin Vision, this event, maybe you can just tie that up with Sydney as well.
Sure.
They
looked pretty average here.
Very average, which is kind of unfortunate. It could be because travel, practice. I don't know, right?
Yeah.
I really don't know. But at the same time, if you're an underdog team, this is your chance to really, step up to the plate and put in this prac hours and take on some of these big dogs, which is what Complexity have fucking done, which is what Bedboom have done, right? And that's what I want these Asian teams to do. Lin Vision haven't delivered so far. That being said, early days.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say, by the way, for those that were asking, can we interview Gum? We tried to make that one happen. Unfortunately, as you would probably be aware or at least expect, events like IEM Sydney are just so fucking crazy. A lot of moving parts. Yeah. I had multiple interviews set up that didn't end up paying off, and we've had to shift times and stuff like that all the time because of rehearsals and event timing and stuff like that. But what I will say is we are talking to him, and I'm hoping to get him online for a podcast. Maybe
for those of you who don't know who Gum is.
For those of you who don't know who Gum is, he's the coach of Lin Vision. Yeah,
he speaks great English. Also seems to have a very good. He's not one of those manager guys who doesn't talk about the game as such. He knows. Right? He really knows what's happening in the team.
So we'll try and get him on maybe within the next month or so. I know Blair, you're going to be pretty busy over the next month or so. So
I should hop on and
we'll see what happens. Yeah, I think it'll be great if we can get him on. But yeah, maybe like after CAC or just before CAC, I think that would be a pretty good time to sort of have a chat with him. Let's move on from Tyloo. We'll talk about Rare Adam very quickly. Again, this is just confirming the rumor that we've already spoken about, that team was indeed somebody, X-Pro, Fozy, and Corey, plus Twister and Peku as the coaching staff. That's now been locked in. Interesting, I guess, to see how that one goes.
I'll give it 6 months.
Yeah. Well,
that's me being generous.
Well, I want to talk about that in a second as well. And I'll tie this in with the next couple of topics because it does sort of all tie in. So Wings Up have also signed a mixed team. So I don't know what the fuck's going on over there in China, but they're really cooking something up in the lab over there. And it's also funny to me that, like, at the moment, obviously, Lin Vision and Cyclone are still quite... Lin Vision and Tyloo, I've got to get used to this. They fucking changed so much. Lin Vision and Tyloo are still quite clearly the top two Chinese teams. And they're the two that are Chinese teams rather than mixed teams. But we'll see whether or not that changes. Now, Wings Up, they signed Krias and Blogsis. I don't know who this guy is. I've never seen this guy before. But Blogs1S is his name.
Blogis. Let's go with that.
Blogsis?
Blogis? Blogger?
I think it's Blogsis. Blogsis.
There's no S before.
Oh, is there not?
There's BLOGG1S.
Oh, I've read it wrong. Wrote it wrong. Okay, it's Bloggers. Let's go with Bloggers. So the team now is Gas, Land, Child King, Flying, Bloggers, and Kreese, which is obviously a 6-man roster. Marek's been removed, and they put out the quote-unquote worst announcement ever, which they said it was the worst announcement ever on Twitter. So one, I'll say credit to Wings Up for trying something different on the social media game. They're actually, of the Chinese teams, I think the one that is trying to kind of get their English social media going a little bit. Which is kind of cool to see. But as far as this team is concerned, fucking, I don't know, man. I didn't think Marek was a particularly big highlight in that roster, but was he not their in-game leader? I feel like he was the in-game leader for that roster. So
I actually don't know.
Removing him and bringing someone in that now this team's going to have to speak English, I don't know. I guess we'll see, but that's weird. Anyway, the reason I bring those up in tandem, Rare Adam and Wings Up, is Czech Republic. There you go. The reason that I bring them up together is that they both played in the ESL Challenger Jönköping Asia Open Qualifier. That was the first outing for both of those rosters. And they were able to both secure a slot into the closed qualifier, which I think is in a couple of weeks' time.
Okay.
And so it'll be Rare Adam, Wings Up, Tyloo, and the Mongols playing in that ESL Challenger Jönköping Qualifier, which I think will be pretty interesting. And the one other thing to note is that Lin Vision lost to Rare Adam in a best-of-1 in that open qualifier. However, they were playing with Gum as a stand-in.
There we go.
So there's a little bit of a caveat there. But this will be the first Asian event on CS2, the Jönköping qualifier, I think. So
I'll tell you why this is happening, by the way. I think I have a very good idea why these kind of wild roster changes coming in, or rather roster ideas coming in from a lot of these Chinese orgs. Shanghai, from what I've heard, Shanghai Major next year, the CS2 at the end of the year, which Perfect World's going to be doing, that is the goal for all these Chinese orgs. They want to be there, and there are only 2 spots available right now. And
from the Asia RMR, basically.
From the Asia RMR, right? So they're going to only have 2 teams there. And for the Chinese orgs, they're like, we have to be there. We have to make it no matter what, but they have to worry about Mongols and Greyhound, right? Obviously, those 2 other guys are always taking these 2 spots. So I don't necessarily agree with it, but for them, they're like, all right, these Chinese rosters we've been having for like 3-4 years with barely any changes, not working out. Let's just We just need to get there. Let's go for the shortcut route. Let's pick up a couple of international players. But you're not going to find any good international players coming in here. You're going to find some of the, the tier 2, tier 3 guys and scout them out. And it's a short-term solution. And I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand.
When have we ever had a success?
I can understand why they want to do it, because they need that short-term success, like very quickly, to sort of within the next 12 months have a decent team.
Yeah.
And I think without being able to buy out a team like Tyloo or Envision, which I assume maybe not going to be super easy because these Chinese buyouts are fucking insane sometimes.
And it's not even a buyout for the Tyloo roster, right? Because they were let go, but they left Rare Adam. So I don't think there was a buyout necessarily there. So yeah.
Well, okay, and just since we're talking about that, my understanding is that the reason why they left Rare Adam was a sticker split dispute.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
They wanted 100% of the sticker income, which is hilarious to me considering they haven't qualified for a major in the last 3 cycles. But anyway,
I think they can.
But they haven't.
So
to sort of leave you all over sticker money when you're not getting any sticker money anyway to begin with is pretty funny.
Welcome to Asian Orcs, man. That's how it is.
They ended up in Tyloo, so good on them, I guess. Yeah, look, I guess we'll sort of see how that one all plays out. But
let's talk about all CS. How's it going down here?
Pretty bad.
Pilski?
I mean, we had a whole episode which you missed out on because you were working, but we did talk to Brace and Addict, and we did a whole lot about AUCS and where it's at, and what to expect. And I think the biggest thing at the moment, is probably just the wait and see what's going to happen with ESL Challenger ANZ. Now, I will say I had a brief conversation yesterday with someone. I'm not going to say who, because I don't want to name drop and get anyone in trouble.
I had a long conversation with someone yesterday.
Yeah. And they were saying that the way they envision ESL Challenger going is that it is the same in terms of quality as ANZ Champs. They don't want it to be a step back in quality. And I said to them, okay, well, where's the studio show? Where's the LAN final potential? Where's this and that? And they were saying, well, it's something that obviously they want. And I said, if you can make that happen, then we're going to stop talking shit. But we'll see, obviously, whether or not that happens.
We've already said it in previous episodes, but I think we are all aligned in the fact that what we want is regional leagues that culminate in a final playoff to go to things like Pro League or IEMs, ESL ones or whatever. Right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, look, I mean, we talked a lot about ANZ CS in the last one.
And I think, sorry to interrupt, but I think that seeing that Australia event-wise has people from China coming down and has interest from other parts of Asia, and time zone-wise is good for other parts of Asia, does kind of show that the region should be looked at more collectively than it has been at the end of Go.
Yeah. Look, end of the day, as I've said to this person and anyone really, I'm always interested in having a chat about Asia CS and ANZ CS and what can possibly be done, and from my perspective, what's important. And I think I personally feel like I have a pretty good grasp on at least what would be good for the scene in the region from a broadcast perspective. Obviously, I can't say much from the player's perspective, but I think from the broadcast perspective and maybe how to kind of integrate that into the Western ecosystem, because that's the biggest thing. There's no doubt that there's a lot of fans in China, we've seen that. But how do you sort of translate that interest into the West as well? When it comes to Asia is a big question mark that needs to be answered, I think, going further forward. Anyway, look, a couple more topics before we wrap it up. I know it's going to be a bit of a shorter episode, but we've got things to do today, guys. The Huns. This is the new Mongolian super team.
The Huns. I like that name.
Are they the Mongolian super team? It's Score Bartak 9 Sogu +1. Okay. So I got this info from, I got to check his name. He was on Twitter. Just want to get this one right. Number 19 fanboy on Twitter.
Well, unfortunately, number 9 fanboy, you had me
number
at
19
you had me at Score and you lost me at Bartak.
Yeah.
So just at the moment he said Bartak, I'm like, sorry, man. Yeah, they're one of the Mongolian teams, Jordan. That's my take on that.
One of the Mongolian teams of all time.
Yeah, one of the Mongolian teams.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think this is a team that can probably cause a little bit of a ruckus.
In Mongolia.
For sure. They're playing in the Misa Pro League or something.
Wings Up and Rear Adam?
I think they could.
Yeah, probably.
I think they could. Can they beat an Atox or a Mongols?
But that's the thing. Okay, we want these teams to exist. Are they going to be the best in the region? No, probably not. Are they going to go for the major slot? Probably not. But
They
I
need to
actually
exist,
think
yeah.
I actually think for these teams to come together of players that have experience and can, at least play good CS and do damage is like I'm always really, really happy to see these rosters come together because it will increase the strength of the scene under the top teams
For sure.
and give them more practice, give them more people to play against.
No, yeah,
And that's going to increase the strength of the region. This is the issue that I actually have with Australian CS at the moment. It's not that we don't have a couple of good teams that can make their way to international events. It's that those teams don't have anyone to play against. So to see these kind of teams in Asia is a big thumbs up for me.
No, I agree with you 100%, absolutely. But for me, I'm looking at this point, right, this juncture in CS and Asian CS, I just want a team to really start like competing for the top spot, right? Now, if we had a team who can beat Mongols and beat current new Tyloo, potentially, now we have like 3 or 4 teams alongside Linvision, right, who can compete for these events, for these spots, so to speak, I'd be even more excited. But like you said, there's nothing wrong in having teams who can really raise the bar overall of the CS being played in
I think
Asia.
all of those guys have enough experience to play at the top level of the Asian scene.
That qualify.
Well, we'll see. People wouldn't have said complexity would be in the grand
I don't
final
know,
of
man.
Sydney.
I don't think you can have 9 Sugu and Bartak in that one team, man.
9 used to be all right.
I think
Oh, that's the thing. He used to be. They're all right.
Yeah,
they're all right. But like, they're not going to be able. I don't think they can beat Atox.
Score in D13, for example, and some of those guys in D13, they used to be better than the sum of their parts. They used to be able to get into the top 4 of tournaments and give the Chinese team some trouble. So I think that even like some of these Mongolian teams with a couple of good players, if they can organize themselves well and they've got some good experience, they can actually, give these better teams some problems.
You know what would be exciting though? Atox and the Huns, whatever.
Yep.
Smash together.
Yeah,
Well, I was thinking,
That was
fifth
spicy.
player. Who's the 5th player that we're stealing from Atox? That's what I.
You
that's what
can't. No way. You're not stealing anyone from
You don't think
Atox.
so?
No way. If anything, someone from
Atox
the Huns is
takes
going
score.
to Atox.
Atox takes score.
Yeah, like I don't think you
Yeah.
can
I'm
take
surprised they
anyone
haven't
out
got him.
of Atox.
It'd be spicy.
Because
I wouldn't mind.
Atox is what? Cabal, Dobu, Yami, Coolast, and
Who's the other guy?
fucking someone else.
But yeah, okay, Score's playing, so that means he's not rotting on the bench. It's a good thing.
I mean, I don't think he's on any bench right now.
Really?
Yeah.
So he got released from Tyloo?
Well, Tyloo have like half the Asian scene on the bench. by
MIQ,
the-
that's who I forgot.
Right.
Mick. All right, so that's that. Any other fresh Asian news, Jordan?
No fresh Asian news.
Oh, there is the Skyesports event, which
Oh,
which
yeah.
I did with Dinka. They're doing another one. I
I
think
wanted to talk about that. Yeah, actually,
first week of December, and there's an EU qualifier
I
happening.
saw that TSM playing in the EU call. I think I
OG
saw.
as well, I think. I'm not. Yeah,
So-
TSM's there too. So that's interesting. They're being very,
Yeah,
shall we say, I don't know. Like I wouldn't say optimistic. More like I don't think they're overreaching a little bit too much. I would like look for just an Indian-only LAN. I think was okay,
Yeah.
nothing great, but it was decent for the first time they're doing it for CS. But it's CS2. Number 2, I thought they'd probably try Asia first, like Southeast Asia and all that stuff. But they're going in all in, like winning some EU teams out. So good luck to that, I guess. But it's going to be interesting.
yeah. I think it could be. I think it could be a cool prospect. Obviously, if a decent EU team makes it, and also I think what's important is if that European team has a good time. I think that's going to be the most important thing. Is if they go over there and they have a good hotel, they're having a nice time, they're treated really well, and they spread like some positive news and say actually this event was sick. Then you're going to get the possibility of more teams going, hey, you know what? If we do get an offer from Skyesports Masters to go to India, we'll actually take it. And I think that's part of the thing about IEM Sydney as well that we've been talking about is that everyone, whenever they come, they say, oh, this was a fucking awesome experience. Initially, in 2017, people were like, fuck, this sucks. We have to travel 30 hours. We don't want to do it. We heard talk about teams not wanting to come and stuff like that because it's too far away and this and that and blah, blah, blah. But now it has like this positive zeitgeist around it that teams are kind of like, all right, we're willing to sort of take that sacrifice to go a bit further and give it a crack because it seems like such a good thing. So I think that's important.
I think
Skyesports to
overall,
get right.
the international Indian events we've worked at, right, have been
My experience was quite good.
hit or miss when it comes to production and everything else, mostly miss in all honesty. The hospitality has been great.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
Asian hotels are fucking great.
Yep.
So that's there.
Yeah, so I can't complain about that one. Look, I think we can talk about that a little bit more when we get a bit more information on it, and closer to December, we'll probably do another episode where we touch on it a little bit further. The last thing that I kind of wanted to touch on before the one viewer question that we had, which we haven't answered for the last 3 episodes. But anyway, the Asia CS leaderboard, and we can touch on this one very briefly because it's it's kind of the same old.
Let's do it.
But fucking still needs work. We've got Lim Vision Cyclone number 1 and number 2. That's okay.
Which is Tyloo now.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm not necessarily against that. Vertex number 3.
Yeah, no.
Looking for Org, Dead Team, by the way, number 4.
Yeah, no.
Bravado, which I believe is a South African
they counted
team.
the Asian qualifier, so yeah.
Yeah, South African team number 5.
Wait, but why?
Because the major cycle thing, they play the Asian qualifier as a South African qualifier, which plays in the Middle East qualifiers, which leads into Asian RMR.
I almost think it needs its own region, but I guess it's kind of hard.
This is what happens when you have a lack of interactive play, so to speak, cross-play between these teams, and everyone's counted as Asia.
Yeah.
Bravado's not going to fucking play Tyloo or Lin Vision, right?
Yeah.
No.
So that's one issue.
Yep.
Go on.
Anyway, Bravado's number 5, the Mongols number 6, Greyhound number 7, Nixa, which is, I think, another South African team. Atox wings up, and then it goes down, obviously.
Yeah, listen.
It's just fucking cooked.
There's
basically.
a very bad recency bias when it comes to the Valve rankings, which is a bit more ameliorated when it comes to EU because there are way more events happening over there. But in Asia, because Mongols haven't played in a while, which they haven't, right? No, not too many events recently. Suddenly, the number 7.
Yeah.
Not ideal. That's a problem with these.
The thing is,
rankings, dude.
I mean, I don't give a shit really if the rankings are just fucked. Like, none of us really are looking at the rankings and saying, oh, Vertex is better than Greyhound, for example.
It's an invite, man.
But that's the issue, is if they're actually going to use this as an invite to the minor, to the RMR, if we're going to call it that, then they need to actually fix it. Because you can't be making invites based on this. It's just awful. It's not going to be good. It's going to be a problem.
But
sure.
the thing is, they're using the same system, the same algorithm for all 3 regions. Might work for NA and EU. Doesn't work for Asia.
Well,
you got to keep Bravado separately. You got to keep South African scene separately. You got to keep EU kind of separately because they don't play the Asian teams all the time.
Yeah.
You got to keep Asia separately, and then maybe group those 3 together based on some rating or something because that's scuffed.
I'm hoping that one positive part of having a lot of Middle Eastern presence to do with ESL and stuff like that means that maybe you can actually serve that region a little bit better than it has been done in the past because there's a lot of resources and stuff. But it's not like there wasn't chances for those people to put on events in the past and things like that. Like, they've always had the resources to do events and whatnot, but maybe they can have things like Middle Eastern qualifiers for the South African teams and the Middle Eastern teams that usually get underserved. That's something I would like to see at least.
They do that. That's already happening right now.
Right.
Yeah. So, for example, the PGL, the Copenhagen major qualifiers, if you look at the Asian RMR, I can tell you, I was consulting for PGL a little bit. They reached out to me, which I really appreciate. Instead of just blindly doing it, they're like, all right, Asian qualifiers, how do we work it? I spoke to quite a few people, some guys from the Middle East, some guys from Southeast Asia. I'm like, all right, what's the ideal way we could make this work? And because South Africa is there, what's happening is you have the open qualifiers in South Africa, and closed qualifiers for South Africa. Then you have the open qualifiers for the Middle East. And you have one for the GCC, which is the Gulf Cooperation Council countries. Because for some reason, because of the routing over there, the rest of the Middle East and Saudi Arabia and UAE, they can't play against each other. They have to play in EU servers because of the ping, because of the routing. So they're having 3 separate qualifiers. And then there's going to be Middle East closed qualifiers, which is going to happen a couple of weeks later. So the teams... online.
Sorry,
but the
Middle
teams,
East.
but the server's going to be announced early on. So the teams from, if it's going to be in Dubai, for example, the teams from the rest of Asia, maybe they can fly down to Saudi Arabia or something. And the GCC teams, which I'm assuming is going to be Bravado, right? They at least should be able to fly into the Middle East and play on a low ping equally. That's the only solution viable apart from a LAN.
Okay, cool.
Anyway, obviously this is a big conversation that we can have when we get a little bit closer to the Asia RMR. We'll do a big old breakdown.
A similar thing that I thought of as well as a solution, or that other people suggested as well, that I've been talking to about this is that, it's what they do in Valorant is the Oceanic team gets flown to Asia to play online. And
that's possible. Even if you just fly to Perth, I know that's not ideal, but we've seen that in the past.
Depends. It won't work. That won't work for the Chinese teams
or Mongolians.
This is what's different about Valorant and CS. In Valorant, yes, the Asian team, the Asia region is segmented Korea, China, and Southeast Asia. So yes, it works if you're playing Southeast Asian teams, but because the CS scene is more so Mongolia, China,
Northern Asia.
Perth would not work because you can't play Singapore.
No, you're right. All right. Well, look, let's talk about that like at a later date. We don't need to get into it too much today. But anyway, the TLDR is like, obviously we keep saying, oh, they need to fix it, they need to fix it, they need to fix it. Oh, don't worry, like it doesn't matter right now, but like in 2-3 months' time, it is going to matter. And that's not a lot of time, especially when you consider there's going to be the Christmas break, the holiday break.
Yeah.
Are they going to fix it in time?
No, it's not going to get. This game is not going to get fixed overnight. You know, there's going to be bullshit for 6 months. To
I
a
almost
year.
think for the very first Asia RMR, you need to run qualifiers, not invite, based on
100%.
the rankings. Anyway, that's a conversation for later on. I very quickly thought of one thing as well. Did you guys see that the IEM China Qualifier, which is in a couple of weeks, is going to be played online?
Yeah.
That's pretty fucking cool.
That's fucking sick.
That's fucking cool.
Yeah.
For Chinese teams.
For the Chinese
For the
teams.
Chinese
The
teams.
IEM China Qualifier, if that makes sense.
That I'm going to tune in for.
Yeah.
See what- see how
well,
it
Is
goes.
I know I'm
separate
casting
TO
one day
or
of
the
that.
same TO that's running the big event running that?
I assume it's ESL's just running
It's
the...
ESL doing it.
Oh,
100%.
but who's running the LAN? That's a good
Who's
question.
running the LAN?
It'll be some local,
Probably locals, right?
ESL's local partners, I guess.
local
Or
partner.
ESL China, yeah.
So I don't know how that's going to go, but are you casting that on the 3rd? I know I'm casting it on the 3rd.
Oh, is that what we're doing?
That's what we're doing. I'm pretty sure
is
that's
that
what
a
it is.
LAN?
Yeah, I think that's what that is.
Oh, fuck
So
yeah.
that's going to be pretty fucking sick.
Should be sick.
Yeah, I'm casting both the days.
Okay, well, yeah, I'm doing the first day. I think that's going to be really cool. Looking forward to that. I think that's great. Positive step. And then the last thing to say today, I just want to...
That's what I asked, but I asked Blair to do that with me.
Oh,
He was
did you?
like, I'm
Yeah,
a
but I was
busy
trying-
boy.
I was busy.
Yeah, you're
He's a busy boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I didn't know it was
For a
going to be
change.
that.
look, just before we wrap things up, we did have a viewer question that we've ignored for three episodes in a row. Sorry, Psychological. We were talking about other stuff, mostly IEM Sydney, but this is the Asia episode. So he says, you guys think that CS2 might attract some more people from dead regions like Korea and Japan and eventually put themselves on the map? We've had that question a lot, but he says, mainly asking because I'm someone that wants to see CS2 turn into a fully global esport, blah, 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 blah. And then he mentioned that he was watching ESL Open Season 46 and he was interested in a team called Untitled. And they caught his interest in particular because of their nationalities, which is Japanese. And he thinks it's strange that they would not migrate to Valorant like most of their other countrymen. And
Maybe
that
they
kind of
just
thing.
like playing Counter-Strike.
So are we expecting to see more of that going into CS2?
Well, quick and easy answer. Of course, we want it to happen, right? But one thing we realized because of the gaming culture, so to speak, in Japan and Korea, they're not dependent a lot on the surrounding countries or the region. They have their own thing going there, right?
Yeah.
For Korea, it's the PC banks and everything. And what Riot, for better or for worse, like Riot like getting very involved in the esports side of things. And one thing they do is they push for country and region specific marketing for the particular game, be it the PC banks in Korea or in India. They had that Indian agent launch parties and stuff like that, which Riot pushed for, getting a lot of streamers and everyone involved. So they do that. Now, we know historically Valve are not someone to go for that sort of like micro push in a particular region or whatnot. I wish they kind of did, but if they do that, then would they stop there? Would they do other stuff? It's a big hornet's
It's a
nest.
double-edged sword because it's what happened with Riot in Oceania, where they went really hard for like 5 years and then turned off the tap, and then it's just like boom, off you go. And the community is almost like dependent on that sort of trickle of whether it's money or whether it's support or whether it's that. It didn't necessarily grow naturally and become its own thing.
I still believe that you can have both games coexist side by side in some of these countries. And I'm just hoping that CS2, we're going to be finding in the next few months, right? If CS2 really blows up in China, it really blows up in the rest of Asia as well. Hopefully that leads to trickle down for Korea and for Japan.
I would love to see it happen in China, especially. I think if there was a big Chinese league in the similar vein of what you have, I know it's never going to be as big as League of Legends, but like similar like League of Legends, where it's Chinese teams playing for months at a time,
Is it LPL?
broadcast in English, broadcast in Chinese. Crossfire does the same thing. Like there's a Heroes, Arena of Valor, fucking whatever, all these other games. Like China has a lot of these big leagues, which I think people in the West don't really know about. But if they were to run something like that, if that's what the perfect world arena league ends up being, and that scales up to that level, I think that would be fantastic.
That would be hype.
That would be really cool. So yeah.
No fucking chance, bro. No chance. That's my opinion. For Korea and Japan in particular, Riot's already captured the region way better than Counter-Strike ever did. Again, exactly what Blair said. Valve's not going to do it. The TOs have shown they're not going to do it for years and years and years. Who's gonna engage those regions? Who's going to invest their resources in those regions? For me personally, I think it's more likely you would see more activity from Southeast Asia or somewhere like that, or maybe India, coming back to CS a little bit from Valorant. For Korea and Japan, I don't know if you guys have seen the events for Valorant I mean, the bloody Pacific League is hosted in Korea. That is like the home of Asia for Valorant.
Yep.
And all of the CS players are gone. For Japan, they're having some of the biggest events in the world with record crowds. They're having one of the highest viewership in Asia leagues that runs domestic leagues we're talking about here. Korea and Japan is not going to come back to CS2. I don't think there's any fucking chance of that. But I think you have a better chance maybe for India or Southeast Asia or something like that.
I'll tell you what's going to happen. Solo, Termi, Bale, Perry, Glow are all going to come in, and each of them are going to coach a whole separate team. And they're guys, we're going to make it happen.
They do that.
We're going to run it back,
they do
motherfuckers.
that.
We're going to run it back.
They do that in Valorant.
Well, that's the thing. CS is back at Solo Strike. I feel the itch. I feel the itch for some Counter-Strike, bitches. Let's go.
Let me just light this salary on fire and my steady job that I have in one of the most stable regions.
Let a man dream, Billy. Let me dream, all right? I would love to see Korea back. Japan's never been a stronghold for CS ever.
No.
I know we had a couple of players like Xiaoxi. Shout out Xiaoxi. Hope you're watching. But apart from that, Korea, it would be rough because even in CSGO, right, we had players like Zine and Zeta. There were moments of glimmers of some hope. I hope it comes back. I let a man dream.
Yeah.
Well, Zine is not playing Valorant.
Well,
he could have been on the best team in Korea if he
easily.
wanted to be.
But you know what?
Easily.
Respect.
Yeah.
Just on that topic, though, I've heard NKT's fallen apart.
I'm not surprised about that.
Not surprised by that at all. The
Yeah.
results really weren't there. It
Zine.
didn't look like it was going anywhere.
Zine, go get the bag, bro.
But yeah,
Stop sticking around.
In
Go get
CS2,
the bag.
in CS2.
Go get the bag.
Go to CS2.
Go get the bag. You know what I'm saying?
Join another team.
He's not watching this podcast, but go run.
Yep. Anyway, let's wrap it up there, guys. Obviously, we've all got places to be. So it's been a pleasure, obviously, doing these in person. I really enjoyed it. I'm sure, they've come across a lot better than the online ones, and hopefully we'll be able to do some more in the future.
Yeah.
And the way that we do that, of course, Blair.
Well, now that IEM Sydney is over,
Yep.
hire us, you cunts.
Yep. Skyesports Masters, every China event, all the Asia events, hire us, you cunts.
Hey guys, just at the end of this video, I'd like to give a quick shout out to Jean, who is my first supporter on buymeacoffee.com. If you'd also like to support me financially or any of my content, make sure to check out the link. It is in the description box below.